Hey, this is the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. It's Sunday night, November 26th. I want to talk to you a little bit about violence in our public schools, in the system. You know, having violence in our schools is apparently something we want. Now, I understand, if you look at the school system, they'll tell you that they have a zero tolerance for bullying. That's the policy. But that's not exactly the reality. This new designation, zero tolerance for bullying, is a relatively new invention. In the past, we didn't need that. Now, there are far too many illustrations of bullying in our schools to just ignore the whole concept. Teachers face a daunting task, and students are at serious risk. But now so are the parents, at least one in one Virginia school. Last year, 2016, Chrissy Lanier learned the hard way, but not as hard as did her 12-year-old son Dominic. Dominic was ambushed in the hallway at Northside Middle School when a student hit him in the back of the head and then in the mouth. And as Mama told the local station, my son's lips were stuck to his braces from somebody punching him. Adding insult to injury, the bullying had begun the previous academic year. At that time, Lanier had contacted several school officials, but nothing had changed. Now comes along Sarah Sims. This year, 2017, Sarah has a 9-year-old daughter in the Norfolk, Virginia system. The system conducts routine anti-bullying programs and shows anti-bullying videos. They're strong against bullying, or so it appears. Sarah's daughter began facing bullies in school most every day. After repeated efforts to get school officials to respond to her concerns, they didn't even return her calls. They didn't answer her emails. Sarah placed a recording device in her child's backpack. When school officials discovered the device, Sarah was arrested. You see, the school has a zero tolerance policy on electronic devices, which it apparently enforces more rigorously than it does anti-bullying policies. About a month later, police charged Sims with felony misdemeanor, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, and the use of a device to intercept oral communication. Adding insult to injury, she was also charged with another misdemeanor, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. The felony charge carries a 5-year prison sentence. Of course, her lawyer doesn't expect the court to sentence her to jail. In Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, the students are allegedly assaulting teachers, disrupting classrooms, damaging property. Teachers are begging administrators for support, saying the situation is out of control. This against the Patriot News, a local publication. What has folks amazed is that some of the worst behavior is reportedly coming from some of the youngest students in the Harrisburg School District. The article says teachers and students are being hit, kicked, slapped, scratched, cussed at, and observed other students flipping over tables, desks, and chairs. Teachers have had to take the rest of their class into the hallway to protect them during these outbursts. Amanda Schaefer, a first grade teacher, shared some of her experiences, saying, I have been hit, I have been kicked, I have been restrained from behind where I've been unable to move my arms. It really throws off the whole day. I mean, you have an incident happen and you have to do a room clear, get all the students out, and then after that you have to take the time to do a write-up, and you have to make security come in and get the kids, and at least 45 teachers have resigned between July and October of this year, and more are expected in this school district. District administrators refuted claims that the resignations were directly tied to student discipline problems. In March of this year, 500 students, about half of the student population, at Harrisburg High School were given suspension notices for unexcused absences. According to a report by Scholastica Global Education and Publishing Company, these are not isolated or regional events. In a study of 10,000 teachers across the nation, 58% of elementary teachers, 64% of middle school teachers, and 53% of high school teachers said they have noticed an increase in student behavior problems. What's going on? These things are not limited to the Pennsylvania system. They're just the most recent illustrations. It's all over the country. Well, the answer to the question, what's going on, is that the proverbial chickens have come home to roost. Over the past 50 years, we have empowered children. At the same time, we have minimized parenting and transferred education of our children to the public school system. While all this was going on, we have deliberately lowered the threshold for unacceptable behavior in a child. You've seen it. Not just mothers, but many fathers being led around by their 2-year-olds, trying to simply keep them alive while the child wanders and investigates whatever may be to hand. No discipline, no boundaries, no standards, only frazzled and exhausted parents being bullied by their children. So why are we so surprised when those same children go to school and bully people there? And what punishment awaits them at home when they act like this? When the child throws food across the room? When the child breaks something? When the child just walks out the door in defiance? What do you do when the child refuses to make their bed? Oh, nobody makes beds anymore. Mom and Dad don't make beds. I realize some do. Children aren't expected to make a bed. What's the point? I'm just getting back in it again. Symptomatic. You don't care. It isn't important. It doesn't matter. It's more likely than not these parents of bullies will march into the principal's office demanding their child not get any form of punishment. This is the postmodern society. One that just believes human beings are okay. They're basically good. And if you just leave them alone, they'll grow up. They'll figure it out. It'll be okay. It's not a problem. Your grandparents, great-grandparents didn't believe that. They believed that you ought to sit up straight and eat at the table using utensils and holding them properly after you'd washed your hands. They believed that when you got out of bed, you changed into your clothes, you folded up your pajamas, you put them under your pillow, you make your bed. They expected you to be at breakfast at a certain time, ready to go. And they expected that when you left for school, you had everything that you needed. I walked to school for about 80% of my time in school. I can count on one hand the number of times that anybody took me to school or brought me home. I can count on the same hand with fewer fingers how many times my mother came to school. She came if I needed medication. She came if something broke. Something happened that you couldn't foresee. But I forgot my lunch. No sense in calling. Nothing was going to happen. Now, children have their own cell phones, and they're in constant communication with who knows who. This is the postmodern society. Well, it's more the post-Christian society. And the school system is in the mix, and they have actually been morally and maybe other ways neutered. There isn't anything they can do without antagonizing some group or another or running afoul of the law. And parents may be in your face about the problem, but the school district pays the bills and they're not going to upset that apple cart. Besides, it is unescapable logic to realize that all of this is deliberate. This is what the change agents have always wanted. They didn't tell you about it, but they want dysfunctional parents. They want a society with no objective standards of morality. They want a society with no investment in the moral development of children, no tolerance for criticism of their parental philosophy, no time to spend solving what's clearly the school's problem. The extreme definition of a disconnected parent, something these parents don't know nor will accept as a definition of their non-efforts. That there is only one way to raise a child. Now you can raise hooligans a lot of different ways, but you're only going to raise a child to grow up to be a reasonable, rational, productive human being. And there's only one way to create a safe, productive home, or a nation for that matter. And that one way is what the Bible teaches. And that's why our cultural leaders refuse to do it. I can't imagine what the next generation is going to look like. Oh, wait, I can. It's here.